So once again, Biden was confronted by pro-Palestinian protesters. Now, what exactly is going on here? We know firsthand, and we all have seen the horrific images in Gaza. We saw how many of the men, women, and children are being attacked and assaulted. We saw all these heinous posts on social media, and the evidence is abundantly clear that Israel and the IDF are committing war crimes. This isn't open for debate or discussion. And everyone across the political spectrum is pretty much in agreement. This is horrific and it has to stop. Look, even Donald Trump opened his mouth. All right. Now, listen, let's not turn him into some saint. He's still pro-Israel, but he pales in comparison to RFK Jr. But even he said, look, finish the job, which he was telling them to do, but this has got to stop. You're losing the world. Because even Trump knows, like, I remember when I told on CNN, I want people to stop dying. Yeah, people have to stop dying. But yet Biden and his administration are not lifting a finger. Now, why is that? As we have said before, and as have everyone else in independent media said before, AIPAC, the super PAC, controls the narrative. They have influence over corporate media and over our two-party system. So AOC, I hope you're hearing this. It's not just Republican lawmakers, because that's easy to go after. It's also Democrat lawmakers as well in the United States Senate and House, and yes, and even at the state level as well. We've legalized bribery, and the super PAC, the one super PAC that is front and center, I don't care what anyone else says, AIPAC has the control. Now, what does it really say about a friend? Because Israel's supposed to be our friend, our aircraft carrier in the Middle East, when they've had a long, sad history of, punching us and kicking us and slapping us in the face. It has happened. But again, the Democrats are losing control of the people. And the Democrats have not a single leg to stand on. So I want to play this video here where Biden is not only talking about affordable health care, remember Medicare for all, Bernie, but also how we need to stand against Trump and praises his vice president, but also here's the demands of pro-Palestinian protesters. Folks, listen, try not to rage out the screen too much. This is a senile old man, and this is somebody that the vote blue, no matter who sycophants say, is a good president and cares about the people.
Because the insurance company considered those a pre-existing condition, allowed them to deny coverage.
And if you can't hear, and I will be raising up the volume for this, I will rewind this, but the protesters say, what about the healthcare in Gaza? What about the people in Gaza? Listen very carefully what he says afterwards as they're escorted out.
Because the insurance company considered those a pre-existing condition, allowed them to deny coverage. Everybody deserves health care. Be patient with them. They have a point. We need.
He says everyone deserves health care. Then he says, be patient with them as they're being escorted out. And then finally, hey, yeah, they have a point. They have a point in what? That the people are dying? Yeah, absolutely. I've been reading a few other articles about how there are some Palestinian people in Israeli hospitals that are at risk of being deported right back into Gaza. That's the democracy in the Middle East, our aircraft carrier. Guess who called Israel our aircraft carrier in the Middle East? Oh, first name Joe, last name Biden. They got a point, though.
Be patient with them. They have a point. We need to get a lot more care into Gaza.
This is why I don't respect Democrat voters. I mean, I get it. I get it. You want to vote for Biden because Trump gives you PTSD, but you're like, woo! Before I play the rest of the video, I've said on this show before, always be careful of people who say, if I was alive during the Civil War era, I would have helped free the slaves and be part of the Underground Railroad. If I was alive during World War II, I'd be part of the resistance and help the Jews escape from the SS. Whenever you hear someone talk like that, just keep your comment to yourself. Be calm. You're probably in a public setting. But that person's a fraud and a liar. You can maybe mutter to yourself, yeah, right, asshole. Because see, all those liberals in that crowd, they probably think that way. Let me let you on a little hint. The person you would be in World War II or during the Civil Rights era or during the Civil War era, I mean, that probably wouldn't be you. But right now, if the question's ever brought up, hey, what would you do if there's a genocide happening? Well, guess what? You're living that right now, okay? And for all those in my audience that are calling out the crimes that's happening, that the IDF is doing to the people of Gaza, you are the real ones out there. All right. The rest of these people out there that have Trump derangement syndrome saying, oh, we got to resist Trump. They're frauds. They like to play. They like to role play being a hero. They like to role play being a resistance. I remember the great activists from 2016 to 2020. And all what those stupid morons would do is put on their little pink pussy hats, go rally around somewhere in downtown Chicago and march their happy butts all the way to Trump Tower, a private building right across from the river. A private building, not a government building. There came a point, and I know I said the story before, but I just got, after seeing that, I just got to once again say, I have to keep saying the story. Where would those activists ever have the same energy to do that to a government office or to a U.S. senator or to a U.S. House representative? Because Trump Tower is a private freaking building. It's not a government building. But everyone would protest in front of Trump Tower and cosplay and be a little resistance fighter and scream, Trump's a fascist. Hey, suckers, you wasted my time and you showed me shit. I'm sorry I had to be mean. But sometimes, I just really hate people who talk like that. If I was alive during the Civil War era, I would have helped this. If I was alive during World War II, I would have been in the resistance. No, you wouldn't have. No, you would have not. And then, of course, there's always that incident of, well, gee, what if you time traveled? If you went back in time, you have to do everything in your power to get back to your time zone. But anyways, that's science fiction talk. We'll save that for another day, perhaps for a Patreon show.
My predecessor and MAGA officials are going after seniors and people with disabilities and children. As we all know, they're going after women as well. Trump proudly says, quote, after 50 years with no one coming close, I was able to kill Roe v. Wade. That's his statement. You've seen it on
Biden, Roe v. Wade died under your watch. Your watch, it died. You could have done. Never mind. Hey, this is Vote Blue no matter whose dog.
Television. Well, he's talking about how Donald Trump killed Roe v. Wade. He says it has to be punishment for women exercising their reproductive freedom. Trump and MAGA Republicans are responsible for the chaos that followed, and they're now calling for a national ban on choice for every state, in every state, not just what is in law now. On top of that, just this morning, the Supreme Court heard a case to gut access to medication that was approved by the FDA 20 years ago to give women a choice. Folks, if America sends me a Congress that are Democrats, I promise you.
So if America sends him a Democrat Congress, so you know what AOC and Bernie are going to tell you to do. Vote Democrat because Trump. Vote Democrat because Trump bad. He hurt feelings. I am so looking forward to voting independent. This will probably be my last election cycle voting. I've actually had a few people actually call me up and say, hey, kid, I forgot that the Illinois primary happened. Like, yeah, I almost forgot it was going to be happening too. And until I was reminded about it. And I got to tell you, folks, I just got to tell you, the amount of people who are just uninterested in this election cycle is especially in my inner circle, is staggering. It is nothing in comparison to what I saw with people being excited in 2016 and 2020.
Trump and I will restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again. Trump and his MAGA friends are, if nothing but persistent. They've tried to repeal it 50 times. Not a joke. 50 times they've tried to repeal it. We stop them every time. And now.
All right. Now, you're going to be hearing him talk about how stopping Trump, but I want to focus this right back onto Palestine. All right. I want to pull up this article here because it's embarrassing to listen to an old man talk like that. That is the leader of the free world. Biden reacts to pro-Palestinian protesters. They have a point. They have a point. Yeah, they do have a point. They do have a point indeed. And those are the protesters that are being escorted out. And notice, wow, a lot of silent people not standing in solidarity. All those people right there that are quiet, the vote blue no matter who people, they would do nothing if the SS knocked on their apartment building and rounded up a Jewish family. Those vote blue no matter who people, they'd probably rat out an escaping slave in the Civil War era. They would. Because they like to follow orders. Beware of people who say, I would do this, or I'm a resistance fighter. Show me what you're doing now in this time. And the reason why I'm just so angry is because watching that video, I'm getting flashbacks about all the time myself and Daniel wasted covering those protesters from 2016 through 2020. And to be fair, we stopped covering them early 2019. I just remember calling up Dan and say, hey, Dan, look, I can't do this stupid stuff anymore. And he agreed like, yeah, dude, it's a waste of time. Because those protesters, and if you know who I'm talking about, what are you going to do? Put on your little pink pussy hat again and protest Trump because he hurt your feelings? So President Joe Biden responded to pro-Palestinian protesters who interrupted his healthcare speech Tuesday, saying they have a point. 2 protesters were escorted out of the venue in Raleigh, North Carolina, after they cut Biden off mid-remarks. What about healthcare in Gaza? Because people are starving to death. Everybody deserves healthcare, says Biden. So you're pro-Medicare for all? Biden said as the protesters yelled that the hospitals in Gaza were being bombed and alleged that he was complicit in genocide, he asked the audience, be patient with them. They have a point. Yes, you are complicit in genocide, Biden. And Biden said after the protests were escorted out, we need to get more care into Gaza. Members of the audience cheered and gave him a standing ovation because they're cucks and nutless wonders. And they are people who would rat you out to the authorities because they would. So let's talk about our alliance with Israel. Let's talk about it. Why am I switching things up here? I'll have to slowly read this. It's only 25 seconds long. But this is from Mint Press News. The United States has made us a star in their flag and made us a colony. Now, this is a member, Israeli Kisnet member, admits on live television that the security of Israel is more important than their relations with the United States. Now, this is Israel's own media. Watch, read, hold on. In my opinion, I said from the first day of the war, the United States is not our friend. Holy Moses! What? We're not buddies? We're not friends? And with all due respect, our security is more important than our relations with the United States. Ha!
ארצות הברית הפכה אותנו לכוכב בדגל שלה, והפכה אותנו לקולוניה.
אוקיי, אז הנה הדברים הנחרצים של ראש הממשלה, אבל אני רוצה להחזיר אותך.
ואני שמחה, ואני פה אומרת לנתניהו, אני שמחה שסוף כל סוף הוא עשה מעשה מנחם בגין, ואמר לארצות הברית שלא מאיימים על ישראל.
Oh well. That's how they feel about us. I kind of feel hurt just a little bit. And of course, hey, there's stuff like this here too. You know, these are guys blocking food and aid.
The best way is to transfer them to Europe. Europe already accepted, past the 10 years, accepted more than 100 million refugees. I don't think that another 1.5 million refugees would make any difference for the Europeans. And as the Bible says, this place is for us. It's promised for us, so they can starve to death to pay on the things that they've done to us on the 7th of October.
Would you live in Gaza once all is said and done?
Totally. If my wife would agree for that, totally, I would go live over there.
Say it with me, folks. How horrific, how barbaric. And the United States is still sending in aid. Now, Bernie the Nutless Wonder and AOC are trying to do everything they can to finger wag. But just remember, that was all for show. But Biden's going to say they have a point. Meanwhile, people are starving. People are dying. And you got some people giddy and excited to move to Gaza. Build a nice little fancy home by the beach on top of the remains of people's homes. Dare I say it, homes might be built on the unmarked graves of dead men, women, and children. All the while, the United States does nothing. All those vote blue no matter who people. Oh, if I was alive during this time, I would have been a resistance fighter. If I was alive during this moment, I would have been brave. I would have helped. No, you wouldn't have. And this is a message to the uncommitted voters, to people who wrote in uncommitted or who wrote in Gaza for the Democrat primaries in the different states. Be consistent. And remember that no matter what happens, nothing's going to fundamentally change. The Democratic Party, after this election cycle, is going to go right back to collecting money from AIPAC. Okay? Biden, if he gets reelected, won't do a damn thing to help the people of Gaza. I mean, he won't. What exactly are you expecting him to do precisely? Because people are still dying. Israel is still conducting military operations in Gaza. And even though Netanyahu said, "Oh, I'm so upset at Chuck Schumer saying that there needs to be a new election," Chuck Schumer, by the way, just said, "Once the war winds down." And AOC, who said the word genocide in the halls of Congress, she's still going to support Hakeem Jeffries, who is a huge supporter of Israel and collects money from AIPAC, right? And then there's Senator Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, who's shocked that so much military aid is going to Israel, but he's not going to do anything to upset the balance for his good friend Joe Biden. It should serve as a reminder that the Democrats are just as inherently corrupt as a Republican Party, and nothing will fundamentally change until people say no more. Let this serve as a reminder to all these people protesting Joe Biden. If you give in to fear, if you give in to bullying, know this. No matter who sits in the White House, Trump or Biden, it won't matter because the people of Gaza are still dying. We have to do something different, and that is through citizen ballot initiatives. And we have to start building movements and organizations not connected to Washington, D.C. Do not expect the Democrats to be your friends, okay? They are preventing protesters and activists from protesting the DNC convention here in Chicago. So what does that tell you? They're right now being nice to you or pretending to put on this mask saying that they care about what's happening in Gaza. But at the end of the day, like any kind of abusive partner, they'll go right back to their abusive ways once the moment of crisis has passed.